My thing is, if you know, they say YOLO. If you only live once. So if you only live once, why you gonna fuck it up?
Yeah.
You know, if you know better, do better.
One of the originals. You're one of the guys who started from scratch, from the beginning, and the other two play a major role besides you and Daymond starting it out.
Oh, major role, major role.
As far as the marketing, with the others playing a role, how much did they help y'all?
You mean our partners now?
Partners? The new partners, the two new partners, because Jay came, and then next is, Keith.
Jay, well, they play a role from the jump. Mm-hmm. I mean, every decision that was made by all four of us. Once Jay came to play, Keith came to play shortly after that. So, and there was another gentleman that ended up not staying around because he just couldn't wait. He couldn't wait it out. Mm-hmm. But that's why you see 05. That's why you always see 05 on our shirts, because there was 5 people that were there when we started the company, but there's 4 of us that stuck to it. But yeah, I mean, everybody played a role. Every decision we made, it's almost like it still is to this day. It's like a majority rules. Mm-hmm. We like this color. Mm-hmm. Who likes this color? Majority rules.
Can I touch on something? Because it's always a myth. Mm-hmm. The 05 said it was 5 members, worked 4 years, and nobody's getting paid. Eventually, somebody might drop off. Was it true that it was 5 members?
Yes, it was. That's where the 05 comes from, but it wasn't like, we wasn't getting paid, somebody was gonna drop off, because the shit that we was doing, it wasn't like real work. It was work, but it wasn't like you had to sit there for 8 hours and do it. Okay, you know what I mean? Cool. It's like you come home from work, give me 3 or 4 hours real quick, do whatever we gotta do, and then you go do what you gotta do. Yeah. 5th member, he had a girl at the time, and she was just kind of running his life. Like, I want to go over here. You ain't got time to sit here with these cats and do this, because I want to go here. So you come with me or what? You know what I'm saying? And then 99.9% of the times, he be like, yo, fellas, I'll be back. And be gone while we doing all the work. So it just became a trend. So when the deal came down the pipeline, I remember my man was like, yo, I'm not taking no boy with us, I was like, nah, you can't do that, man. Like, at least give him a shot. And now that we got this bread, give him a shot and see what turns out to be. But it didn't turn out. He never wanted to work. He wouldn't do anything. He would just keep his feet on the desk all day and not work, not move. And, so after a while, we just had to cut the loose ends.
So when foo-boo blossoms, right, because you did, it transitioned for what it was to that next transition. Do you have a team of creativity people? I always wanted to know. Or is it just a single mind?
No, how it worked was eventually I walked into just being straight creative director. Because I'm not gonna sit there and design and whatever. But I'll come up with a concept, and then from design to inception, or actually say it's designed to, like I told you earlier, I can come up with an idea and say, okay, the direction of the line is going to be purple horseshoes.
Right, it's the same. Right.
And I would have to come up with the concept. I have to come up with the concept of the logos. I have to come up with the concept of the rivets, the footwear, the hats, and then merchandise it, make it all come together, and offer vision every season.
I read they called foo-boo the R&B group of fashion.
I've seen it that way. I've never actually seen it written.
Yeah, that's because when I was younger, I couldn't afford foo-boo. How did y'all come up with the concept like the Fat Albert, the characters that made it to me different, that differentiated from a lot of other clothing lines?
All those were like just creative meetings. When you see that was something that we started seeing. There's a company called Iceberg that was out, that was doing Mickey Mouse and some other things. But we said, okay, how could we do something like that, but kind of bring it home to characters and images that our community can relate to.
I love that.
So we got with Bill Cosby's company. Actually, Hallmark owned the license to that and was paying Bill Cosby for the license. So we went to Hallmark and made a deal with them to use the images of Fat Albert and those things.
After a while, we brought in some other creative directors to kind of, help out, because again, you always want to get new talent in, and then one guy came in and he brought in a license for the Fat Albert and one more. But we shouldn't even talk. Now we can't even talk about him anymore at this point. Well, he brought in that and Kultcha. That would be Bobby Joseph. That's Bobby Joseph. So he brought in that idea, and we. That was the perfect flat food.
What made him come up with that concept? I know you worked with him.
But the idea was, we were talking back and forth, and we were looking. What was hot back then was
Carl said iceberg.
Iceberg, yes. Iceberg, right. Iceberg was hot back then, so we wanted our version of Iceberg.
If you're really excited about what you're doing, the success may come or may not, but if not, you'll have success. When I first started with the FUBU hats, I just wanted to make sure that I was talking to a culture, and I wanted to get on the video set so I could holler at chicks and not get kicked off when they were like, yo, clear the set. Nah, because I got a shirt and I'm supposed to put it on LL. But that turned into FUBU, right? And then I go onto a show that I really like, because I like the acquisitions and I like negotiating with these big shots, and all of a sudden, that turns into Shark Tank. My books, my first one, I just wanted to put it out to educate people. Now I got 4 books and 2 of them are bestsellers, because it turns into something you really, really love and you're passionate about. Hopefully it'll work out. But it didn't start off with, I need to make money.
We don't reach back and help anybody. That's not true. A lot of us don't.
Yeah, but you can't. See, I don't live in the a lot of us don't world. I live in what Jay does.
So what's that individual?
As an individual. I mean,
So tell the people what Jay does.
well, look, I'm the president of New York State Black Chamber Congress.
That's yours.
Daymond's a shark, I'm the dolphin.
Let's speak upon it. A lot of people don't know that. Don't know that.
I help every day, all day. My phone, I have to put it on mute because people always call me every day.
So when did y'all finally felt like y'all made it as a FUBU company? You go into these large events, right? You in a section, then at some point it picks up, people want shirts, people want outfits. What was that feeling like when you made it and you know you made it? Like, what do you do first? What's the first
I know what
reaction?
you want to hear, but
Yeah,
I would give you the
first
realistic thing. It never happens like that.
They don't.
It happens like that from the outside, but from the inside, there's always turning points that you felt you made. Your first turning point was you get your registration to do business, the DBA, to do business, open a bank account. That's a turning point. That's like, I'm in business. I got a business account. I'm official. That's a turning point. Then you sell your first item. You actually produce a hat in your living room, bring it on the street, and make some money. To me, that's the most powerful. That was the most powerful moment for me. When we took a idea, took the fabric, sewn it up overnight, put it in garbage bags, went on the app, and came back with money. I was like, holy. And I've been working at jobs all my life, and this is all you gotta do? That was a turning point. So there's different points in life. Now to get to the big turning point was, we was doing this for about 5 years in Daymond's house. And we was running a decent business out there. We was shipping clothes to, there wasn't the internet yet, but we were doing a lot of mail order. Like we created some ads, we put them in the Right On magazine, these hip-hop magazines that were out back then. And kids used to send in their money orders for a FUBU shirt with the fill-out form or whatever. So we had those coming in, or faxing. They fax them in. We had a fax machine. So we come in the office every morning and see how many faxes are there. Like 10 to 12 faxes. We're like, so
There was no IT back in the day.
That was it.
Back in the day, you go check that first.
So you can check your faxes. You got a few orders. So we doing that mail order business. We were shipping to stores in Queens, Brooklyn, New Jersey, some Connecticut, and that's when we bought a little van. So I would go out once or twice a week to these stores and basically all 5 boroughs and a few other states on the outside, on the outskirts. So we'd run the business. We was doing, I say we probably doing 250, 300,000 a year in sales, which is, it's not bad. And we got the attention of these guys, and we got the attention of these guys who work for Samsung. Samsung, everyone knows them for their phones and their electronics, but they also have a lot of other divisions. They have a textile division that right there in Fashion Avenue. We caught their attention, and they gave us a call and asked us to come to their office and talk to us. Just, I guess they want to feel us out and see what our situation was.
Back then, it was a little different because they said, if you had something, cats was out there trying to figure out, trying to jump in this urban market to see who was popping at the time. So it was a different time. But you had a lot of people who we came to know later who they were that called us in the beginning and was just offering us ridiculous amounts of money on the phone. Like, are you serious? Like, we from the hood, bro. Ain't nobody calling us for no, what you need, 10 million? Oh, meet me tomorrow down in the office and I give you a check. Like, come on, bro. Like, who you talking to? You know what I'm saying? Like, but we went to go see the folks at Samsung, and I don't know, it was like a test just to see what it was or whatever. But when we came in there and they saw, what we had, it's like, all right, well, we'll talk or whatever. And they didn't call us back for a couple of months. We got right back to work. Then what we had to do, put a shirt on Fredro Starr from Onyx. He went and shot New York Undercover. Took him about 30 seconds to die on national TV. He talked about jumping up and down. We was jumping up and down because we infiltrated the videos. Like MTV, that whole blurring shit, that came from us.
The blur.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because they didn't know. They like, it's FB. Yeah. It's the FB. Yeah. They ain't paying us, but FB is everywhere. Like, who's this FB? When they found out it was us, it was like, oh, I'm Blur. The only people that Blur back then was BET. So we had to live, on BET. But, we didn't, like I said, we was getting into that whole marketing and branding thing. We had no idea what it really was back then. But when we saw Fredro on Channel 5, prime time, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. We was jumping up and down like, yo, we made it. Well, we really didn't at that time. But, that was like one of the key ingredients. Yes, man, because when they saw that, they called us back and was like, yo, come back, see y'all still doing your thing, come back down, meet with us.
But y'all had a whole bunch of free marketing.
Yeah, no.
Especially the Gap commercial, which is how he talked about how
that
whole marketing team probably never in business again.
L turned the marketing game upside down with that one. He will forever, that would be one thing that he will forever be remembered in doing. Like, everywhere I go, people ask me about that. And then not only did they put like $20 million behind that his campaign that he did. Well, it wasn't even his campaign because it was a whole gene campaign that everybody was doing. And he put $20 million, I think, behind that first run. And then once he did it, everybody started coming to the store on FUBU hats. And it was like, what the hell? What's so FUBU hats? What happened? And then when they find out what happened, I think a couple of heads rolled over that because, he slipped one on them. But then they were getting so much traction from it, they put that shit back out and put like $60 million behind it.
Did they ever try to come to y'all and talk about doing a cross promotion?
Nah, man. And I had this conversation the other day. Back then, collaboration wasn't heard of like that.
The guy that we've been talking to at Samsung, he said this is his story telling us. He said he was in his house and there's a show called New York Undercover used to come on, Malik Yoba and them. He said he was sitting there in the bed with his wife. They look at all the hip-hop channels. The Jewish guy, but he looked at all the hip-hop shows, see what's going on, whatever. So he said looking, and he said he saw a kid running from the cops, turned around, the cop shot him, and he fell back and had a foo-boo shirt on. And he said, he looked at it, he said, we gotta sign those damn kids. We gotta sign on somebody. He called his brother and said, somebody's gonna get these kids, somebody's gonna get them, we gotta get them. So they called us in the next day, asked us, could we come into the office? We said, yeah, we coming in. Right. So they was like, listen, tell us what you guys need, and we'll work it out. And we worked out a deal with them. I mean, they still got what they needed because this bottom line is they had the money that we needed, and we had the flavor that they needed. So what we did, we signed a distribution deal with Samsung, where Samsung handled our manufacturing and our distribution to the stores, and basically like a record deal, and put some money up for marketing and promotion. And what we did was we signed a distribution deal with them, but they didn't own any of our company. We owned 100% of our company, but then we formed another company called GTFM that would share the profits of the company. So we own foo-boo, they own their company, and we formed a company called GTFM that shared the profits of the company. So we signed a deal with them where we felt that we at least had ownership of our brand, and if worst came to worst, we can walk away with our brand if everything just failed. At least we have that. So we got a deal with them, and that's when things really took off. From then, we opened an office in the Empire State Building, did the finance and hired the people that we needed. We started going to work every day in the city. I've probably been in the city maybe 5 times before that, but now I'm in there every day now. And we really started to run, we really started cranking out.
How did y'all learn to market? Or was that part of a bigger table? Because you're part of the marketing.
Everything was learned on the fly, man. We didn't even know what we were doing back then was called branding. Like, we didn't even know that because we never really picked up any books to learn that. I mean, we picked up books to read and see how we can further ourselves, but it wasn't like, oh, go get this book on branding because this is what branding is. We didn't know. So we spent a lot of money and we wasted a lot of money. Like, every time we had an influx of cash come through, I remember when Jay gave his little deposit down, that shit was like, come on. The day we mortgaged the house for $100,000, it felt like 4 months. Gone. I was like, damn. Like, so we knew we had something. We just needed the constant capital to keep it going and get it out there. And then once we made our deal with Samsung, they were just jumping in those waters with the textile division, with their textile division. So, he was like, listen, if you guys make $5 million in the first 3 years, we're good. We'll keep everything going.
How many times did Samsung turn you down? Okay.
This nigga be cutting me off, man. Hey, listen. Want to get his ass in a minute. I was saying, like, Samsung, they had the ability to offer us that deal and say, in the first 5 years, if you guys don't make, first 3 years, if you guys don't make $5 million, we either take your name or you gotta pay us back that money. Right. So he was like, all right, cool, no problem. That first season, which was from September to November, we made $5 million. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So they was like, oh shit. And then that next season, which was holidays and spring and all that, we made $20 million. So we was already good. And then once they saw that we was like a train just running, they put all their resources behind us and let us go.
But then breaking down business, some companies have went public. Why FUBU didn't go public?
Well, initially I wasn't set up, that's a good point that people can learn here. My books weren't set up to go public at first. And then I think FUBU started to cool off when we were at the position to go public. And taking in public money or taking in any other money, it's a lot of different restrictions and other things you have to do. Could we have done that? Yeah, but would it have been a success? Don't know. We would have called it a roll up. But if you really look now, most of the brands that had flourished around the time when FUBU was either up or heading down, none of them are really huge these days either. So I think it was a cycle of the trend at the time. It was really a cycle. It was a 7-8 year cycle. So it's not like I can say, well, So Forth went ahead and they're huge. They're Nike now too, because everybody in that circle kind of went that. And listen, when I got into the business, Levi's was doing 18 billion. I think this year they'll do 4 billion. But when I got into the business, Nike was doing 12 billion. They're going to do 30 billion this year. So each individual has their own way that they succeed or they slow down.
Oh, so Carl, how's that feeling though? Because I ain't gonna lie, I've been to the Empire State Building 3 times in my life. And I've been living in New York my whole life.
Right, that's how I was. Right.
How was that transition feeling? Because I always like to tell young people, we don't know what it feels like at all. How was that transition from being distribution and they just solve your problem overnight?
And that's, and that's what I told you. It was almost like, because you gotta remember, at this time there was piles of fabric and piles of things and debt up to our butt. You know, just all kind of things going on. But like you said, one struggle with pen, and all that stuff was, you know what I'm saying? All of it, the debt, everything, and that was there's a feeling. It's almost like starting over. It's like starting your life over. It's almost like starting your life. You know what I mean? It's almost like a total reset. You know what I mean? Everything wasn't perfect yet, but we started bringing a salary, which wasn't much, but it was check every week. So you can actually start planning. You can actually plan to pay your rent on time and stuff like that. So having that and having the office to go to, we didn't have a car. We bought one car. Matter of fact, one of the partners from Samsung gave us this Range Rover, and we all shared that at one time. We go back and forth to the city. But little by little, we all started to get out stride. You know what I mean? Daymond got his car first, then I bought me a little motorcycle, then Jay bought his Lexus truck, then I bought me a Range Rover. Little by little, we started getting our stuff together.
You know, but that transition, how is it for a young man when they pop like the way y'all did? How was that state of mind? Like, cause none of us never had that much money before. How was that transition? Is it rough? Is it smooth?
You know, when you working 4 years and you're not getting any checks, and then, you know, my first check was almost 600,000. You know what I'm saying? From my percentage that I got. You know, so I was like, shit, I got $600,000. I'm about to go food. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm about to buy everything I never had. And you kind of go through a phase of, especially when you come from nothing, you kind of want everything that you don't have. But I kind of got over that shit real quick, though, because, you know, I bought my mother a house, I bought me a couple of cars, you know, I bought some jewelry, I bought some clothes and sneakers and everything I wanted.
Well, you didn't have to buy clothes.
Huh?
You didn't have to buy clothes.
No. I'm talking about,
Like,
you still had to buy, suits.
He said he got over it quick. Like, I got to get back to it. We got to get back to work. We got to continue working to make it, you know? But,
yeah, but, you know, I spent a lot of money, but, you know, when you spend $50,000 in your bank account, don't move. You know what I'm saying? You still, you know, I was almost 600. I done did everything I wanted. I still had 500. I was still in the fives. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, shit. I done spend, you know, a couple of dollars, and then we was getting money like every 4 months. Like every 4 months, we get another check. Boom, boom. Yeah, so I wasn't really on the whole Lamborghini Maybach. You know, I don't really floss like that. You know what I'm saying? So I never bought all that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had one chain, my shit was right. I didn't need 10 chains. You know, it wasn't how everybody's wearing like 15, 20, 30 chains. I don't need all that.
So this was around what, 91, 92?
No, this was 96, 92, 96, 97.
Anybody created, yeah. So now, with everything going on, I see that you're relaunching, and now it's eyewear. Everything that, because you did have watches before,
yeah.
But now it seems like everything is coming out. foo-boo Mobile,
yeah.
All the. It's like a big brand in there.
It's getting a resurgence because that is back in general. That world, you know, people really like in late 90s, early 2000s, and business is different, and we don't normally have to sell to a store right now. We can open up, you know, on social media and let people know it's available.
You don't need a lot of people no more.
Yeah, you know,
like right now in this game and era, you could go fully independent and make some money. And it's like before, everything was, how would you say, more of a pigeonhole. You didn't have the internet, so I had to come to you and do a deal with you. Now you have these brands, Fashion Nova and all of. They just straight off the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can say, yo, listen, you don't want to do the deal with me, okay?
Yeah. And that's a beautiful thing. You know, you're in control of your destiny. Now you also cannot blame a store and go, well, you ain't put my shirts out in the right space. You discounted them. You can't blame anybody else but yourself. That's it.
Within the culture, we didn't really have nobody to really in fashion besides, you know, Carl Kanai. Mm-hmm. And then, like you said, it was y'all.
Yeah, we didn't have
Willie Esco came in. Eventually, like a little bit behind y'all, right? And we didn't really have nobody.
Yeah, we looked to, you know, because I used to wear khaki. I wasn't really on the cross color thing. I just thought it was too many colors for me. I didn't really gravitate to that. I'm like a one color dude. Like my sneakers is blue and white, or all white, or all black, or black and red. Like
Black.
two colors out.
Black colleges.
You know what I'm saying?
Remember the black colleges sweatsuits?
Yeah.
But we really didn't have much to distinguish us. And everything that we took, we made it for us. And just seeing how.
But that's how we started the brand, you know? It was all about, you know, seeing these other companies infiltrate the urban market, which when it wasn't even called the urban market, we was just like the street kids, and, you know, the hip kids or whatever. When they got us to wear their garments and then blow their name up, then they want to turn around and say, hey, we didn't make this for you. So sometimes we get backlash about, oh man, it's forced bias, it's only black people, this, that, and it's not, because that's not how it was built for us. You know, when we said forced bias, we meant the whole culture, our community, the ones that was coming up under that hip-hop umbrella, you know what I mean? So even our first customers, they weren't even black. They was from Japan. Like, we was selling straight to Japan. Then we went from Japan to Seattle, Washington. Back in the 90s, there wasn't too many black folks that we knew in Seattle, Washington, because all our customers were white. So it wasn't like we made this for black people. Yeah, we're black people that have a clothing line, but we want to sell everybody. We want everybody's money.
Yeah,
we don't want to
basically made it for the culture.
Yeah, you know, and then it just, you know, with LL's help, with the way we marketed it, the name, you know,
Everybody
some people gravitated to the name. It was just one thing or the other, whether it's the quality, it was something that they gravitated to that brought them to us, and you know, and back then we didn't even think the company was going to last.
So it's safe to say now you wouldn't consider FUBU urban.
There's always going to be, you know, I look at it urban mainstream. Why? Because I can't really leave my roots. I mean, it's forced bias for a reason. I don't really care how any other departments think when it comes to that, but I'll always stick to that forced bias for a reason, and not necessarily just, you know, they always have a hip-hop, they always say hip, you know, like Damon's answer for me about, oh, it's for the culture, the hip-hop culture, and all that. And yeah, you know, sometimes I'll run with that answer too, but 9 times out of 10, or 10 times out of 10, really, or 9.5, because, you know, I really want to kind of shut away from that answer, and say it really was because of us. Like, we didn't have, my idea was, we didn't have clothes. We didn't have
Nothing represented
us.
Our people.
Our ideas, our whatever. And I say this to say this, and I'm just gonna be bold. Like, you know, I wouldn't give a fuck. There would be no FUBU without me. Period. Because if I chose to go back to school, because I left school, just to really get for FUBU, I never even graduated because FUBU got so busy.
Next time on the Kultcha.
Selfishness comes of you wanting to be the best you can be because you can't help anybody else if you can't.
Yeah. Well, weed here and there, but you know.
I like that. I mean, but weed is legal now.
Yeah, it's legal now, but you know, I that's about all I do. You know.
What we tried to do was to, you know, your people. Like, you know your friends, you know who's good at what, who's capable of doing what, and you know, you kind of know them from their personalities.
This is All Right, Right, Addiction.